Hi there. In this video, we will go over Elastic Cloud Compute EC2 autoscaling. Now, why do we need autoscaling? Autoscaling service basically ensures that whenever our workload has higher demand and there's a spike in workload demand, then there are enough EC2 instances to handle that workload. So as you can see in this particular diagram, if there's suppose a specific CPU utilization baseline server workload, for a given number of users, we have a specific number of instances that are able to handle this particular server workload. But now if there's a sudden spike in the users, which causes of course a spike in the server workload, then the CPU utilization will go above the baseline that we've determined is normal to handle a specific workload. So instead of having to manually add instances to meet the sudden spike, we use EC2 autoscaling to be able to automatically manage the sudden spike in the server workload. And then once the number of users reduce and the server workload returns to the baseline average CPU utilization, then of course we can use autoscaling to bring back the number of instances back to the baseline server workload requirements. So this is the use case of autoscaling, and autoscaling will be a potential exam question for a couple of domains. So in domain 1, design resilient architectures, you can determine a scaling strategy for components used in design. So a potential exam question could be use EC2 autoscaling to create a highly available solution by distributing instances across availability zones. Second, if you are trying to design high performing architectures, then you need to choose the appropriate architecture and services that scale to meet performance requirements. A potential exam question could be how to use EC2 autoscaling to create a fault tolerant solution. And autoscaling ensures that your architecture is fault tolerant by ensuring that users are abstracted from any failures of the application, and EC2 autoscaling automatically replaces faulty instances, ensuring that your application continues to be able to serve your users. Finally, EC2 autoscaling will be of use for designing cost-optimized architectures. You have to select appropriate scaling strategies from a cost perspective and select the right compute resources. So as you can see over here, EC2 autoscaling helps not only to when you have a situation of you need to scale for increase of demand, but also when you need to descale when your demand returns back to normal. Now let's go over the components of launching an autoscaling group. The very first aspect of launching an autoscaling group is the launch template. The launch template specifies the ID of the Amazon machine image, the instance type, key pair, security groups, and other parameters used to launch EC2 instances. So the EC2 autoscaling, the launch template will determine how autoscaling groups are created within each availability zone, and how these autoscaling groups are created within the subnets and other parameters necessary to create these autoscaling groups. Now, the number of instances added in autoscaling groups is basically determined by the scaling policy. The scaling starts with an event or scaling action which instructs autoscaling group to either launch or terminate EC2 instances. The scaling policy will determine the autoscaling group that how many EC2 instances are to be added and how many EC2 instances are to be terminated based on the scaling event or descaling event. The various scaling options that are available are you can scale manually, or you can scale based on a time-based schedule. You can scale based on demand, or you can use predictive scaling. Then the final component of launching autoscaling group, which we've already described, is the autoscaling group. By definition, an autoscaling group is simply a group of instances which are defined by the launch template. And the number of instances in the autoscaling group are defined as per the scaling policy. The autoscaling group performs some important functions such as health checks and maintains the number of instances as per the scaling policy. Now let's go through a bit more detail into the very first step of launching an autoscaling group, which is the launch template. Now, as you can see over here, this is a screenshot of the AWS management console, and the first aspect of creating an autoscaling group is you need to give it a name. After that, you need to choose whether you want to switch to a launch configuration or you want to create a launch template. Launch configuration is already deprecated by AWS, and AWS actually encourages all new users to use launch template. The various steps of going through the launch template are described in this specific URL link, and you can go through the actual Amazon content to go through the very specific steps of creating a launch template. We will not go through them in this video because the actual steps of creating a launch template are not going to be the type of questions you will see in the solution architect exam. So as part of your own understanding and knowledge, you can go through this documentation and understand and go through the user guide of the step-by-step process of creating the launch template. Now let's go over scaling policies. We believe that knowledge of scaling policies is very important because of the high likelihood of exam questions coming from the knowledge of scaling policies. There are 4 scaling policies that you should know of. First is manual scaling. This is quite simple. Manual scaling your group can be useful when automatic scaling is not needed, or when you need to hold capacity at a fixed number of instances. This could be used at a very early stage where you're building either a demo application or your application has very limited number of users. Schedule scaling, which is basically scale based on a time schedule. When should you use it? Schedule scaling is suited for workloads with a predictable schedule. You use it when your application workloads, more likely batch processing jobs, which are done based on a time-based schedule, say at a particular time each day, is such that you don't wish to set CloudWatch alarms to trigger auto-scaling event. So with schedule scaling, instead of waiting for CloudWatch alarms to get triggered and then the trigger leads to the auto-scaling to take place, schedule-based scaling is going to be more useful, because if you know that there's a spike there's a certain workload which will happen at a very specific point of time, you already have the required number of auto scaling groups and instances available to handle that workload, so that it is both highly available and fault tolerant. The third scaling policy is dynamic scaling. Now dynamic scaling is best suited for situations where the demand is not easily to predict. So dynamic scaling lets you define a scaling policy that dynamically resizes your auto scaling group to meet changes in demand. The limitation of dynamic scaling is that it is reactive. This is an important concept to know. Because dynamic scaling is reactive, it waits for application demand to spike, and sometimes application demand may spike too fast, so the number of users or the request coming to the application may be too fast for dynamic scaling to be able to add instances in response to the spike trigger. So this is an important thing to know about dynamic scaling. Dynamic scaling is good because it scales based on the increase in the workload. However, in certain situations, the workload demand may be so high that dynamic scaling may not be able to perform adequately to meet the demand. That is why schedule scaling and predictive scaling are used. But first, let's go through the full details of dynamic scaling. So EC2 auto scaling supports the following types of dynamic scaling policies. First is target tracking scaling. So increase or decrease of the current capacity of the group based on a target value for a specific metric. You select a scaling metric, for example CPU utilization, and set a target value, suppose 50%. Now EC2 auto scaling creates and manages the CloudWatch alarms that trigger the scaling policy. So the scaling policy adds or removes capacity as required to keep the metric at or close to the specified target value. So what this means is that if the baseline CPU utilization is set at 50%, if the CPU utilization goes above 50%, then it triggers the target scaling, and EC2 auto scaling may add additional instances. Then once the CPU utilization returns back to the 50% target value, then EC2 auto scaling automatically starts descaling the additional instances. Simple scaling, by definition, it just means to increase or decrease current capacity of the group based on a single scaling adjustment. It's useful when load is erratic. However, it's best to use step scaling. Step scaling is increase or decrease the current capacity of the group based on a set of scaling adjustments, known as step adjustments, that vary based on the size of the alarm breach. So CloudWatch alarms can be set for CPU utilization or incoming network requests, which triggers step scaling. Now, what exactly is the difference between step scaling and simple scaling? So the main issue with simple scaling is that after a scaling activity started, the policy must wait for the scaling activity or health check replacement to complete and the cool down period to expire before responding to additional alarms. So the beauty of step scaling is that in reality, your application server workload may be there may be multiple alarms that may be triggering your application. So in such case, step scaling policy can continue to respond to additional alarms even while a scaling activity or health check replacement is in progress. Therefore, all alarms that are breached are evaluated by EC2 autoscaling as it receives alarm messages. Finally, we have predictive scaling. So this is scaling based on prediction. So it is essentially an improvement of dynamic scaling, and what it does is it uses machine learning to preemptively estimate when demand will spike to trigger autoscaling. So basically it tries to ensure that the disadvantage of dynamic scaling, which is that at times there may be such a sudden spike in application workload that the EC2 instances are not created in time to meet the sudden spike in demand. So predictive scaling is a combination of both schedule scaling and dynamic scaling. Now let's go over the final component of the autoscaling group, which is the autoscaling group itself. Now there are certain configuration definitions that you should know about autoscaling. Now if you take a look at this particular image over here, which is taken from AWS documentation itself, there are certain configuration definitions that you should know of. First is minimum size, second is desired capacity, and the final is maximum size. Now minimum size is simple. It's the minimum number of instances that should be in the autoscaling group. For example, there should be at least one EC2 instances inside the autoscaling group. Desired capacity is simply put the desired number of instances for your given workload. So suppose based on your workload, you have understood that there's a desired capacity requirement of 2 instances. So this is your desired capacity. Please note that this is an optional choice and can be set as 0. If it's set as 0, then AWS system sets the desired capacity to the minimum size in the size limit field. So if desired capacity is set to 0, automatically the default will be used, which is the minimum size. Finally, we have maximum size, and maximum size is simply the maximum number of instances that should be in the autoscaling group. For example, like in this image over here, there should be maximum 4 instances in the autoscaling group. If autoscaling group event happens and there are already 4 instances in the autoscaling group, then a new autoscaling group will be created and it will start with the minimum size first. Autoscaling groups can be created with multiple instance types and purchase options. So if you take a look at this image over here, you can see an autoscaling group created over here. And in this autoscaling group, you have 2 different instance types. You have the T4 instance type, the general purpose instances, and you have these compute optimized instances. Now this is just for illustration purpose and is not an example of a real autoscaling group. But as you can see, so within a single autoscaling group, you can launch multiple instance types and you can also use different pricing options. For example, in the same autoscaling group, the general purpose instances could be used for there could be spot instances to handle sudden bursts of application demand, application workload, which could be best managed by the instances with spot instances. And if you recall, spot instances are basically spare EC2 capacity. So if the physical host suddenly is is not going to be having a spare capacity, then these spot instances could terminate instantly. The compute optimized instances, which are given over here as an example, are given as on-demand instances. Now, even though they are on-demand instances and they are generated as a response to a trigger in demand, however, you can launch and automatically scale a fleet of on-demand instances with reserved instance or saving plan pricing to receive discounted rates of the regular on-demand instance pricing. So if you already know that there's going to be a minimum number of minimum application workload, then you can benefit from reserved instance pricing, even through the instances that are created are on demand. The final activity of our auto-scaling group is to conduct health checks. So how health checks work in auto-scaling group? There are basically two health statuses of EC2 instances. It's simply healthy or unhealthy. All instances in your ASG start in the healthy state. Now, instances are assumed to be healthy unless EC2 autoscaling receives a notification that they're unhealthy. So where do these notifications come from? Notifications can come from one or more of the following sources: Amazon EC2 itself, Elastic Load Balancing, or a custom health check. If any of these sources give a notification and mark an instance to be unhealthy because of the health check, then it is automatically immediately scheduled for replacement. And that's how autoscaling ensures that the instances within the autoscaling group are always healthy instances to meet your application server workload. Now let's go over the benefits of EC2 autoscaling. Knowing the benefits is important because potential exam questions could come from knowing the benefits of EC2 autoscaling. So one of the benefits is better fault tolerance. And one of the potential exam questions that would come from Domain 1 Design Resilient Architectures is, how do you ensure your application never fails? So EC2 autoscaling can detect when an instance is unhealthy, terminate it, and launch an instance to replace it. This ensures your application never fails, and the failure of an instance behind the application is abstracted away from the user of the application. Another benefit of autoscaling is better availability. And a potential exam question could be, how do you ensure your application scales when demand spikes and descales when demand returns to baseline? So autoscaling help ensures your application always has the right amount of capacity to handle the current traffic demand. Also, you can configure autoscaling to use multiple availability zones. So even if one availability zone becomes unavailable, EC2 autoscaling can launch instances in another one to compensate. So you might have a bit of downtime, but your application will still be available, which is the definition of high availability. Finally, better cost management is one of the important benefits of EC2 autoscaling. So one potential exam question that would come from designing cost optimized architectures is, the CFO of your company has initiated a company-wide exercise to reduce unnecessary operating costs. So how will you adhere to this exercise? So EC2 autoscaling ensures you pay for instances you use, and you save money by launching instances when they're needed and terminating when they are not. Now let's go over some important aspects of EC2 autoscaling which could potentially come in the exam. The first one is EC2 autoscaling is specific to a region. The EC2 autoscaling service does not work across regions. Secondly, EC2 autoscaling can span across availability zones of a specific region. So autoscaling service will work across whatever availability zones are present in a specific AWS region. Now, there is a difference in the definition of target group, which belongs to Elastic Load Balancer, and autoscaling group, which belongs to EC2 autoscaling. So Elastic Load Balancer target group can point to either an EC2 autoscaling group, Elastic Container Service, Elastic Kubernetes Service, or AWS Lambda or Fargate. However, EC2 autoscaling group always points to EC2 instances because the autoscaling group is basically a collection of EC2 instances. So that's the difference between the definition of Elastic Load Balancer target group and EC2 autoscaling group. EC2 autoscaling works with other AWS services like CloudWatch or CloudTrail. So for example, you could set up an alert whereby the CPU utilization is monitored via CloudWatch. Also, autoscaling works with Elastic Load Balancer, which monitors increase or decrease in application traffic for triggering events that lead to EC2 autoscaling to begin based on the autoscaling policy. Now, each EC2 instance can only be inside one autoscaling group. So watch out for questions which state that EC2 instances can belong to two autoscaling groups. The same EC2 instance cannot be a member of another autoscaling group. Finally, whenever you create an autoscaling group, you must specify a launch configuration, a launch template, or an EC2 instance. You must choose one of the three. Whenever you create an autoscaling group using an EC2 instance or EC2 autoscaling automatically creates a launch configuration for you and associates it with the autoscaling group. Alternatively, if you are using launch templates, you can specify a launch template instead of a launch configuration or an EC2 instance. As we mentioned before, launch configuration is now deprecated by AWS, so the recommendation from AWS is that you should use launch template for launching your EC2 autoscaling. This brings us to the end of this lesson. In the next video, we will go over Elastic Container Service, which is belonging to the AWS Compute product family. So hope you enjoyed this video. Do hit like and please subscribe to our videos and keep watching our videos. Cheers, thanks.